right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Yun Cannon from ParamountBusinessCoach.com. And this episode, we're going to be having a wonderful roundtable discussion with fellow business owners. So today's topic, if you're having a hard time explaining exactly what you do, customers aren't quite understanding what your services are, then this is for you. Now, if you are a business owner and you sell products, perhaps an innovative product, but it's been challenging for you to just get your prospects to understand the concept of what you offer, well, then this topic is for you. And if you're a business owner who you just have a team who you might be having a little challenges with, trying to recruit people who understand your vision, then this also is for you. So I want to introduce, I've got a powerhouse roundtable for founders around the table today. And I love how everybody's from different industries. I am a firm believer that there's a lot we can all learn from fellow business owners who may not be in the same exact industry that we're in. So we have a lot to learn from one another today. I wanted to introduce all four of my guests. Leslie, if you can wave hi. We've got Leslie Robertson. You're the founder and CEO of Open Audience, a global digital communications and event technology company that delivers creative audience engagement solutions. Leslie started Open Audience in 2015 upon drawing from your 26-year career with life science company, AstraZeneca. In addition, Leslie is also a writer, speaker, and panelist. So Leslie, where are you from?
Well, originally, I'll go slowly because I'm Scottish, right? So sound like Shrek. Originally, I'm from near Edinburgh in Scotland, but I haven't lived in Scotland since the 80s. So I've lost my accent. I live, at the moment, I live down near London in the UK.
In the UK. All right. Nice. Now, next, I also want to introduce Brad Macy. Brad is an RN, BA, BSN, and he's the co-founder and president of Hospi Corporation, founded in 2012. Now, Brad is a 30-year veteran hospice nurse, and Mr. Macy invented the Macy catheter. So that was done out of a need to better control hospice patients' pain and symptoms quickly in the home setting. Now, his catheter was also FDA cleared in 2014. Brad was awarded the 2013 NBC HPN National Award for Hospice and Palliative Care Nurse of the Year for his contributions in the field. Very impressive. And Macy received his BA from California State University and a BS in nursing from University of San Francisco. So welcome, Brad. And Brad, where are you based out of today?
I'm still here in the San Francisco Bay Area, and been here since I went to nursing school up here. So, yeah, and came up with the idea of the Macy catheter as a hospice nurse. So, tried to, saw a serious need and tried to fill that need. So.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear more about your story. And moving also forward to Dr. Sriram Penna, let me introduce Dr. Penna. He has more than 15 years of experience as a clinician and researcher. He worked in orthopedic surgery, and his research interests include real-world evidence, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence concepts in healthcare. So Dr. Penna has experience in generating real-world evidence using social media data for healthcare research. And his focus is to bring evidence-based healthcare information through healthcare apps to consumers. So welcome, Dr. Penna, and where are you calling from today?
So I'm calling from Philly.
Yes.
The suburbs. So
you and I are both Philly people. So welcome.
Thank you.
And my final guest is Alex Backer. Alex is the founder of Drizzt, and Drizzt is a drone remote flight platform that allows users to fly a drone anywhere from the world from your phone or computer. Pretty cool. Alex received his PhD from Caltech. He is a top 100 MIT technology alumni. Alex is a biologist, a neuroscientist, he is the co-founder of QLess, It is a mobile queuing technology company that he founded. And boy, hold your breath for this one. All right. So here's some of Alex's highlights. As CEO, his companies have had an uninterrupted track record of growth. He's the winner of 11 Gold Stevies, named the world's IT Executive of the Year. He's a composer. He's a multilingual TEDx speaker. He's an inventor with 12 patents. Alex was also named one of 40 under 40 awards. He's also the first to publish scientific studies on the role of sunlight and vitamin D in helping protect from COVID-19. He's been featured in Time, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Nature, ABC, NBC, and Dr. Becker was inspired to write 101 Clues to a Happy Life for his 3 children. So I got that all in. Now, Alex, where are you calling from?
Altadena, California. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So since the main focus of today's discussion is to help people to overcome their challenge that they might be having, explaining their services or their products or getting buy-in, I thought it would be a nice little exercise. Just share what you do in one sentence. Anybody want to go first?
Sure. I'll go. Drizzt lets, you said it right. Drizzt lets people control a drone anywhere in the world from their phone or computer and stream it in real time for any number of viewers, create automated missions for it, or allow them to fly it safely within geofence.
I love it. Wow. Technology has moved so far. You can do that from your phone. Dr. Sriram?
So my company, I think I haven't mentioned, is Veracuity. We focus mainly on drug safety. We utilize the real world data and also standardized data collection and processing to improve the patient's life by enhancing the drug safety.
And then who is your target market, Dr. Penna?
So the target market, although we help the pharmaceutical companies, especially their pharmacovigilance departments, to process the data, and that's our main market.
Okay, gotcha. And Alex, going back to you, who is your target market for the drones?
It's really broad. It's a little bit like asking Alexander Graham Bell, who's your target market for the telephone? Anybody who can use having eyes somewhere else, the target market. So that includes agro companies in agriculture and farming. It includes infrastructure, supervision or oversight and monitoring for telcos, for utility companies, for oil and gas, inspections. It includes security, law enforcement, fire, search and rescue, construction monitoring, real estate. So anybody who can use eyes and ears somewhere else, as well as, of course, just virtual tourists, and people who would like to see somewhere else in the world.
Does that include parents? We can have eyes and ears wherever our kids are.
Parents could definitely have eyes and ears somewhere else. Yeah.
I'm just poking some humor there. Yes, so you cover quite a gamut of use cases. And how about Brad? Tell me more about who your target market is that you need to get in front of.
Sure. So basically, the goal of, or the mission of HOSPI is to create innovative devices to decrease suffering and decrease the burden of care for caregivers. Care is going more to the home every day, and patients are getting out of the hospital. Hospitals trying to decrease hospital admissions and the lengths of stay. So the ability to care for somebody in the home setting easily is a growing need throughout. We've got a huge wave of baby boomers aging. So those folks are going to need care, and they're going to want to have care in the setting of their choice. And so our products help with that burden of care. So that includes, basically mostly seniors, but also pediatric. And throughout the entire spectrum of care, there's an entire, from inpatient all the way through to post-acute care.
Gotcha. And moving to a totally different industry, Leslie, tell us your one sentence, what you do at Open Audience and who your target market is.
Right, so that's a work in progress because we base, if I take a step back and say, why do we exist? We exist in an organization because I want to improve patient outcomes around the world. But we engage audiences, we do creative communication and digital events. So my target market is to the people on this call, but effectively any life planner, any meeting or event planner in the life sciences around the globe who has the task to engage an audience and have better outcomes. And if we can incrementally improve the benefit of or outcome of any life science event around the world, in my mind, I'm saving lives and helping doctors make better prescribing decisions. So we work with life science planners around the world, but we run events from East Coast Australia to California. Patient associations, medical associations, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, whomever it might be. But the one common feature or factor is that they're all life science events.
Wow, I love how you shared what's also important. What's important to you is really what's also important to the doctors, and you're coming alongside them so they can help more patients. I love that. Now, I'm curious, we're here to help other entrepreneurs who are having some challenges with getting some buy-in with their concept. And from speaking to each of you, I know that that's a challenge that you had at one point in your business. So I want to talk to you a little bit more about that. Whoever wants to start first in sharing, how long was it a challenge? And what was happening for you that people weren't understanding the concept of your product or service?
I'm happy to go first. I mean, I think it probably took me a good couple of years to actually be clear what I was trying to sell. Because you come out with this idea, which is change the world, improve patient care. And you're often with clients that say, yeah, but what do you actually do? And you have conversations such as, well, what do you need? Right. And then you kind of go on a journey and you think, okay, well, what I seem to be able to do is to problem solve your needs to engage your audience better. Therefore, the solution could be technological, but I don't have enough technologies that I own to deliver what they want. So we kind of adopted a view, which is we'll give you the right technology and the right platforms, the right process, but we're kind of technology agnostic, which is a bit weird as a technology company. But we start with the why are they running something and what they're trying to achieve and what do they most need help with. And then our business kind of developed in a way, which is we then complement where the client is and do heavy lifting or whatever it might be. But, we do what we need to do to keep them safe. So ultimately you get to a point, which is, it's like Avengers Assemble. We will provide the team that you need to have the best outcomes in your event. And if you're really good at that, we're not going to mess with that. But if you're not so confident on this, we'll be your partner.
So take me back to when it was a struggle to get people to understand what you do. How long did you struggle with that? And what did you do to nail it down to a message and in a language that your pharmaceutical companies and life sciences companies finally understood?
Yeah, well, I think that the key thing was that I thought the solution was product X. I had product X. And I remember the day I was in a client and they wanted some technology to connect with doctors in clinical investigator meetings around the globe. And I stopped the presentation after 10 minutes and said, look, you're not going to buy what I'm selling because you don't need what I'm selling. But you've got the potential to be a really good client. Give me another month and I'll come back with your solution. And so I actually went with one of my tech guys. We sat in a supermarket over the road and we designed on paper what we needed. And then we went out and built it. And we went back a month later and said, we think this is what you're after. And they're like, that's exactly what you're after. Nobody else does that. And it's like, oh, isn't that cool? Right. And then we designed that. And from there, we then started to have at least one piece of technology which seemed to meet a need, because we weren't trying to sell the technology. We're trying to sell the outcome of what they needed and what we were delivering, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. So I love how you ask them, what do you need? If they're asking you, what do you do? And you just ask them, what do you need? When you're doing events, what do you need? So with that question, what did you find was the, overall some of the common problems of events that are produced within pharmaceutical and?
Well, I think there's two levels. One is I started by asking too many questions. So if you say to somebody, what do you really need? And they're like, the reason I'm talking to you is I don't know what I need, right? So you then come back and say, it sounds like, tell me what you wish you could, you believe you could. What do you really, what's your vision or your ambition? And then I would help translate that into, I think we could do this together. If I design something like this, if I show you something like that, would that work? And you take them on a journey, but part of that is understanding where to start the journey. And understanding that if somebody's here, you don't go 2 chapters ahead in the book, you go 2 pages. And it's always about doing enough to challenge what they would really like to do, but don't overwhelm them. Because if you overwhelm them, they're like, yeah, well, let's just buy somebody, get somebody who's got iPads. So I think for me, the common challenges that we're often facing is organizers are overwhelmed with other stuff. And they've just got an idea, well, we just need a meeting. And there's so many stakeholders that if you go to Dr. Penner's meetings or whatever, sometimes people are not thinking, what do I want the person to think, know, and do and believe after the event? And how will I know 3 months later whether this event has added value? And if I'm giving them data, how do I know it's gone in? And can we give them the right data in the event? Well, we can if we know what they need before they arrive. So my whole task with a lot of event planners is to say it's a journey. It's, you have to think before, during, and after. And if you know what people need, want, and expect, start from that premise and then get your speakers to change what they do on a regular basis. Because sometimes you get the presentation that they're going to give anyway, regardless of whomever's in the room. So sometimes you're saying, well, okay, let's have a bit of engagement, a lot of engagement, a little engagement. But you're trying to pull together speakers, you're trying to gather content, the design, but ultimately it's about how can I measure if this meeting's been worthwhile and adds value to anybody, and do patients benefit as a consequence.
Mm-hmm. So was that something that your prospective clients would tell you, that engagement is something that they need? When they're doing an event, we know that we're not getting enough engagement. Were they aware of that?
Well, not always, because I guess a lot of people do a lot of really good stuff. But often, if the meeting planner is the meeting planner, they're looking feedback on, was this a good location? Was the food good? Did all the delegates arrive? Did we get everybody out in time to get the planes? Did you like this meeting? And various others. And I started to think about the net promoter score afterwards, which is, asking doctors, how valuable was the content? How new and how well presented was it? And are you going to do anything different now you know this? And when you started to experiment with measuring, doctors were like, oh, it's really interesting, entertaining speakers, but I'm not going to change what I do, because they didn't give me enough information to challenge my own beliefs. It was interesting and I had a good time, but no, I'm not going to do anything different. And you can run a meeting where you just don't want them to do anything different. But if you want people to go on a journey, you have to think, well, what would you need to know, doctor, in order to decide to do nothing different, or to do something different, or to change your perspective?
Now, this is really interesting, because that actually dovetails to Brad, right? So Brad, you have the catheter design, and your product was out for a while. How long was it out before you really felt like you got buy-in? So the challenge you had were people were resistant to changing the products that they were currently using.
Yeah, correct. And it's a disruptive product. So, you deal with, I don't know how many of you have read Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore, but it really describes with disruptive technology how you get your early adopters. And early on there were a lot of people, what seemed like a lot of people who were very interested in the product and adopted the product very quickly. And then it started to tail off, and we became flat. And I realized later, after really reading the book, that those later what they call as the early majority, it's very difficult to get to those people. They want more evidence base. They want to hear, let Mikey try it first. The old commercial, let Mikey try it. They want to know that the product works. And then as you start to get to the later adopters, they're not as interested in. The later adopters are more interested in, okay, great, we know it works clinically, but is it cost effective? Is it really going to change our organization throughout the organization? And so our message had to change. And one of the challenges early on was bringing in a sales team that was a consultative sales team. We had sales folks who didn't totally understand that they were not selling a product. Like Leslie was saying, we're not trying to sell a technology, we're selling a solution. And it's really important to say, I'm not about a catheter, I'm about a solution to your problems. Let's talk about what you guys are dealing with. And then we'll talk about how our product fits into your solution. And it's really an important message is to recognize product is one thing, but people don't care about products. They care about their problems, right? And so if you don't address people's problems, with this day and age, with people as busy as they are, I always joke about the adage, if I was selling a fire extinguisher to somebody who was on fire, they probably wouldn't want to buy it because they'd be, I'm on fire, I don't have time for this right now. So you really have to say, no, I'm not selling a fire extinguisher, I want to put out the fire.
Right. So so I think what I'm hearing, let me know if I'm right, Brad. So in the early years of you're the one who invented it. You were the one working in the trenches as a nurse and as a hospice nurse. So you invent this catheter, but then you're having challenges getting people to be the early adopters. And your before version was really that people were trying to sell kind of features and benefits. And you stepped back from that. You're able to explain your product better after you first talk to your target buyers about what are their problems, what are their issues in the context. So when you switched from consultative and asking about what their problems and issues were, that's when you got more immediate buy-in. Is that right?
It's fair to say. I mean, everybody with new technology, there's always going to be a lag with evidence base. We had to get research studies on the product. We had to get a lot of other agencies able to talk to how successful it was for them. So, and then we had to get a team that was a consultative selling team and to develop a value proposition from a clinical, operational, cost, and value perspective. So there's 4 different perspectives that you have to look at because somebody may say, oh yeah, clinical, we've got it tied in here. We know how to we're patient care, perfect patient care. Oh really? But how is your money? So you have to look at each individual.
Gotcha. So you had a sort of a 3-prong approach that helped you get more immediate buy-in for the product between working on the evidence-based, working on the consultative sales approach, and having a team who can do that better. So having expressing and communicating that message. So while we're in the industry area, of healthcare, Dr. Penna, tell us a little bit more about the challenge that you faced with your business model.
Yeah, when we started our business, I think when we were focusing on the pharmacovigilance side, which is like reporting of adverse events relating to drugs, we wanted to go whole area. So when we wanted to create this product that's a web app that collects data, processes it, and automatically choose it out, whatever the compliance required document. But then as we started doing it, we realized that focusing to create a whole model at the same time would actually, it may not, especially in an industry that is already tied in with an existing softwares and existing apps, we can get in there. So what we tried to focus was, we'll choose a small area and we'll provide that value in that one. So we focused on the processing aspect and the collecting data and standardized. So at this point, we are still early in stage, but we are able to explain our product much more better. We are also focusing at this level in an additional real world data collection from social media and creating them into reports. So we have this product where we are able to collect data standardized from the patients, physicians, if necessary, and automatically process without any human involvement to a document that can be submitted to FDA directly, if necessary. There's a lot of QA that pharmaceutical companies can do it. At the same time, we're also creating the reports for individual drugs if they want to see. Those reports are created and published in our sites. We are publishing simple reports that they can review, and that we are hoping as an action, as a way for people like pharmacovigilance leaders and people see that and subscribe to it, actually get a complicated, a more detailed analysis.
And what is the and what are the current challenges?
The challenges is like both Leslie and Brad mentioned, is trying to actually come to a product that the individuals need, right? It takes a while for us, although we kind of try to build a bigger, different thing that might work for everyone. We then realize that it's physically impossible to do it in a span of time. And then we listen to people and kind of see what they want and build the structures that are needed. And eventually, maybe when someone needs that particular different module, we would build it. But right now, especially as we are early, we focus on what matters to the end user. So that's our.
And so far in your research, what are the consumers telling you that they need?
So the consumers, they're focused on keeping their existing systems. They like, for example, the pharmaceutical companies do have their own database, pharmacovigilance database, like Argus and Amnesty. But we are trying to produce the modules that actually help them utilize their existing database, but also have another standardized data collection methods at the same time, and processing that can be built on existing databases. So we don't have to build a new database at this point. They already are utilizing these databases for a while. What we are trying to do is trying to minimize the amount of work a drug safety officer or a physician, drug safety physician, does in reviewing the data. We actually wanted to make it more seamless, AI-driven process where you're able to generate a complete narrative of what patient went through with regards to a drug without actually someone sitting down and writing a physician letter. So our computer program does that. We have QA that physician can review and then sign off the document, but our process is to reduce the amount of time the physicians and drug safety officers have to spend on those documents. In fact, we wanted in future to minimize that altogether when we are able to create those documents that are FDA ready without someone having to look at it. That's still not, that's our aim. We're still not there.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So moving to a very different industry, Dr. Backer, tell us more about what challenges you encountered when you're trying to explain your drone product to buyers.
People, I think, would not get it until they actually experienced it. So talking about the vision, it's so new and people are not used to it, that they're not, people didn't know what they were going to need an iPhone for before the iPhone was there, right? They had to have it in their hands and all of a sudden they couldn't have enough of them. And it's the same thing with Drizzt. We're not used to wanting to see a place where we're not at because we've never been able to do that before. And so what we've done is we just built it. And when we show it to people, they're just blown away. And so we don't even explain. We just like, here, go and fly this drone somewhere else. And they're like, wow, am I really doing this? And then their mind starts going, with all the different applications that they could actually use this for. So the key was really that it's just letting them use it and show it to them.
So how do you let them use it? Just, you can do this virtually?
Yes, we can do it virtually. So people can, I'm hearing that my sound is not very good. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Maybe just if you
Let's see if this
your audio
is better. Otherwise I can change microphone if needed. Oops, what happened there? Let's see. Is it better now with the microphone closer, or should I just switch microphone altogether?
Oh,
Yeah,
much
much
better.
better.
Yes. With the
Okay.
microphone closer.
I
Yeah.
will hold it then. Yeah. So what was your question?
So you show them virtually. You're
Yeah,
showing them like
we-
a demo virtually of your product.
We literally have them fly a drone,
Mhm.
somewhere else in the world. So it's not, they're actually drizziting. They're flying a drone somewhere else, and they're sort of, I mean, one of the first people I let do that is an executive at a farming company who was in Uruguay, and he flew a drone, here in California.
Mhm.
And first thing he did is run into a bear and started chasing the bear. And, it was just like, super fun for him. So there, but of course his mind was going like, wow, if I could see crop readiness, if I could, count cattle without having to go to the, each one of my 100 farms, that would be a game changer. So it's just getting them to experience it. So, and I found that also was the case with Qless, my mobile queuing company I started. It was a demo to show them what this did was worth 100 slides of explaining what it could do.
Oh, absolutely. Experiencing it. So I'm curious, it'd be fun. It would be a fun exercise if later in our conversation, we could do like a round robin. And because we're so different in such different industries, see if we can each sort of name and capsulize what the other person does and what's unique about it to explain the concept. So hopefully we can do that later in our conversation. All right. So Alex, if they are already familiar with drone companies, what's the unique value proposition? How do you explain that if they say, oh, well, how do I pick? How do I pick from Drizzt versus another drone company?
Well, that's like asking, how do I pick whether I should use a telephone or I should just talk to people that are next to me? Well, if you want to only talk to people who are next to you, then you don't need a telephone. But if you want to talk to anybody who's not next to you, you need a phone. Drizzt is the same. If you're just flying a drone that's right next to you and you're the only one who's going to watch, then you probably don't need Drizzt. But if you'd like to fly a drone that's far away, or if you'd like other people who are far away to watch it at the same time, or if you'd like to be able to plan missions that are automated so that you can always follow the same path while controlling the camera, or if you'd like to be able to create geofences that allow you to fly safely, knowing that you're not going to be able to crash the drone, or add digital zoom capability or zooms, then Drizzt is unique and can serve those people with those needs.
Wow. Now, I'm not your target market, so I haven't researched what other drone companies are out there. How many other competitors are in your niche where they can offer, I guess, something similar where they can control from the computer and phone?
We have not seen anybody who offers exactly what we do, and nobody who does even anything close to that in the US. There are companies doing different variants of that, overseas, but nobody who has our vision, and nobody who's doing what we're doing at all in the US.
Wow. That's pretty amazing that you can just log on your phone and computer and see what's going on in, the other side of the country and world. That's pretty cool. So let's see, did we have everybody? I think we did have everybody share about your challenges. Does anybody want to take a turn and take a stab at what exactly is the concept for Brad's product? So you have the catheter. I don't know if you talked enough about it. What is the difference, Brad? Can you just remind us again in just one or two sentences? What's the unique difference between what was the innovative angle of your product?
Yeah, sure. I will try to do it in 2 sentences, I promise. So the catheter is actually a way to give medication without using parenteral, which is IV or subcutaneous or IM injection. It's a way of administering the medicines in oral form rectally. So it's a rectal catheter that's small and comfortable, that's inserted, and the patient can stay at home. So a lot of the challenges are getting medications such as parenteral medications to the home setting, the expense, the cost, the logistics of such, the challenges, the infection rates, and things like that. So this avoids all of those things by allowing for an easy, safe, and effective way of administering medications and fluids in the home setting without parenteral access. Is that okay? Those were long sentences.
Yes, but I hate to put somebody else on the spot actually to iterate that in one sentence. So that's different than what they traditionally use. Okay, awesome. How about Dr. Penna? Does anybody want to try explaining Dr. Penna's product, his mobile app?
I could have a go. Again, I don't fully understand it, but you know, the whole thing about when you're working in healthcare is about knowing if something's going wrong. So knowing if Brad's catheter is having challenges or issues. So if it's not being administered right or something's happening because the wrong drugs are in it, then what you have to do is effectively tell somebody. And the company, in this case, it would be Brad. If we link the two, Brad would know that somebody in Philadelphia is having challenges using the catheter because they've seen something happen that shouldn't happen based on the information about the product. So Dr. Penna's app will say, ding, ding, there is a bit of a challenge, and that will go to the client who then has to resolve it. But it's like a smart way of getting effectively a WhatsApp about an issue with a product somewhere in the world, so that you as a company could say, oh, I'm getting lots of WhatsApps about that. Everybody's hair's turning green. What's that all about? So I think that's...
You're actually spot on, Leslie. I think I actually want to add that not only that Brad gets the data, sometimes Brad has to submit data to FDA,
Right.
that there's so many adverse events, right? So we make that process easier. So we make that data comes in automatically processed with least amount of manual input, like drug safety officer or device safety officer. And then we send that XML document that's supposed to be submitted to FDA, like as soon as that is processed. So the processing time, if the data is all in, is literally seconds compared to normally if the humans have to process, like create a narrative, create that whole case narrative, and all those things takes longer. But we need QA. At this point, we don't want complete automated. We still need a physician to review the report before it gets submitted. So yeah. You're spot on, Leslie. I think I'm really glad.
Leslie, you get an A.
Hey.
And you know what, Dr. Penna? I think we could just swipe Leslie's blurb there and boom, you've got your 30-second animated video explainer that just shares the concept. Now, I'm interested in going to Dr. Backer's product. So who would like to take a stab at 2 major use cases for how they can use Dr. Backer's drone product and why it's different, what it can do for them? All right, I'll drop it down to one use case.
So
I'll take.
I will take. I think I like drone. I actually like your idea that I don't need to be close to a farm that I like. For example, I have a vacation home. I just want to see the aerial view, what's happening. I know I have my security, but security triggered, but I don't know what actually happened. I just want to see who has come around. Maybe I can go to the company, visit, and then fly the drone over that home and see what's happening around.
Right.
How was that? Was that a good use case?
That's a great use case. Yes.
All right. Excellent.
Keep an eye on your kids. That's like, oh, like
Keep an eye on your kids.
they said they were going out with their friends. I suspect not.
Okay.
I can
The other-
think of millions of use cases for that one, for sure.
Yes. Anybody want to contribute another use case?
I like the farming use case, the forest fires. I mean, with global warming and everything that's going on, the ability to watch, the forests and everything, that certainly seems to me to be a big use case. Any kind of patrolling or police work on the private level, I'm sure it's private level, controlling public transportation corridors and things like that. So the list goes on and on. I think my thought is the biggest challenge probably is the regulatory landscape right now. It's challenging the growth of that industry, and you've got a long way, a lot of hurdles, I'm sure, to go through there.
First, your use case was spot on, so completely agreed. And I agreed also in regulations, but there are multiple things helping there. First, regulations are moving in the right direction because FAA realizes that drones are here to stay and are tremendously valuable for the economy. Second, they're giving more and more waivers so that they're allowing these use cases. Thirdly, you don't really need any waiver permission if you have a person on the ground who is watching the drone too. And so if you can, often having an inexpensive person on the ground is not the issue. It's, not having to fly the expert or the multiple experts in from wherever they are, right? And so the ability to have these people be anywhere, even if there's one person on the ground, that's allowed by regulations today routinely without even a waiver. And lastly, it's a big wide world. And I think that we'll see some of the less regulated markets lead the way in this ahead of the US and some of the more developed markets.
I see quite an interesting approach in corporate events. If you imagine treasure hunts or some kind of, when orienteering, if you imagine teams of people competing on a course for a corporate event where they've got to find clues and get a picture of something or a number on a box or whatever, you could literally have a whole team of people competing from the conference room to complete a course or some kind of treasure hunt where the one who gets all the numbers wins the prize. And that would be quite fun and interesting. Multiple drones crashing into each other.
I love that.
You can start specializing in those events and offering them using.
It's on the list.
There you go. There you go.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because we were just exhibiting at the UAV Expo in Las Vegas, and we held a contest. And we were giving away a few things, a drone, and one of them was a gift certificate on Amazon. And the way we did it is we showed a drone video from Drizzt, and we asked people to see who was the first person to find the odd object out there. And there was this very odd object in the middle of a field that really didn't belong there. When you look at the world from the air, the strangest things happen. One of these days we were flying and we found an airplane in the middle of a city somewhere. Like you see odd things when you look from the air.
Yeah.
I have a question for Alex. Who owns these drones?
So anybody can own the drones, right? So in one use case, the utility company is using their own drones that they own to inspect their infrastructure. So in that case, it's sort of a B2B or government client using their own drones for this. But in another use case, you might be, somebody who lives close to an interesting place, Niagara Falls or anywhere else. And so you set up your drone, you put it on the Drizzt network available for anybody to fly, and you charge a fee for that. And you start making money with your drone by letting other people fly, just like Airbnb owners make money with their home by letting other people use it.
Wow, that's brilliant. I love that.
Wait, to buy shares?
Yes, you may.
So Leslie's the only one we haven't done yet. Anybody want to take a stab at what does Open Audience do and what's so unique about it?
I can give it a try. So it sounds like you bring creativity and understanding to the client to produce programs that get information out in a way that works for the client. So you really go through a process of asking the client exactly what it is that they need to do, which is probably in and of itself a helpful exercise for them. And then you produce a program or a venue that meets those needs specifically. And it sounds like you're creative. So coming up with creative ways to do that. How's that?
Yeah, no, that's spot on. I think the challenge I struggle with is we never do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, last year we did 197 events, but we touched 149 countries, and we had 60,000 plus healthcare professionals on those events. But everyone was different. You know, you do everything from 1 hour Zoom on steroids through to 4 days, 18 hours, 3 time zones, 9 languages, a full global conference in the virtual world. And I think the interesting thing for me is, because I've kind of got a butterfly brain, is that, you know, we use anybody's technology, you know, and if I was to give you a quote for a meeting, I'll give you 3 quotes, gold, silver, and bronze, and none of them might be my technology, but they'll all be the right technology at different levels. You know, and I'm not precious about people using ours. It's more about the outcome. You know, and if you work in organizations where you have to use Teams, not Zoom, we're really, really good with Teams, or you're not, or Blue Jeans, or Zoom, or, you know, or 6Connects, or Platform X, or Cvent, we don't care, because it's just a vehicle to deliver a successful and engaging event.
So I also remember you mentioning that you monitor the data pointers during these meetings to see how successful this data is for the meeting is for the people, right?
Yeah.
Can you also get an audience for Brad's product, and during the event be able to figure out, okay, so are you going to change products? Are you going to try this new product?
Yeah, and I think, you know, Brad's spot on when he's talking about early adopters and everything else. We work a lot with other medical device companies, and they're often in a room saying, here is our latest gizmo. Do you think, you know, are you going to use it? And doctors like, yeah, well, if the price is right, or how does it help patients? And every doctor arrives in the room with a different need. And Brad was spot on. It's like some people's like, well, I only need to know it's available and everybody else uses it, or it's cheaper, or it's new. Oh, I don't do new. I'll do new in 20 years' time. You know, but you need to know that when you start talking, because you can't assume everybody's there just waiting to be sold to. But the challenge is getting the speakers to a level which is, oh, right, so I don't know who's in the room. Tell me who's in the room, and then I'll tell you what I'll tell you based on your profile. And I just quickly, we once ran an event for one company where they had no new information. They were expecting something new, but it didn't arrive. And I'm like, got 200 people, what do we do? And it's like, well, give them a choice. So they created 8 presentations about stuff that they already knew. And then they say to audience, we've got time to talk about stuff, but we need to know we've only got time to talk 3 topics. Which 3 of these 8 topics do you think would be most valuable to you in the next hour? And they looked at, well, which kind of doctor, where were they from, what level, what they asked for, but they then were up on their feet talking about 3 topics. And the engagement scores were off the scale, because for the first time, the doctors gave what the audience wanted, not what they prepared and pre-planned. Now, you can't do that all the time, but that has to be the way to do it, in my humble opinion.
Oh, absolutely. What they're interested in, what they want to know, and maybe where they lost them.
Yeah.
They could have been lost on, you know, the first introductory comments. So
think of the time that people are spending. I mean, I've sat and run so many board meetings myself.
Right.
You don't want to waste your time. It's an hour you'll never get back.
Well, I think this was hugely valuable for our audience to be able to just listen in on how 4 very different business concepts are being articulated and shared, especially when they are out in the marketplace. Reality is, yeah, they're I don't want to say they're bombarded, but their target market is bombarded. with so many different messages. So it's kind of like sitting here as a prospective, client. It's kind of like sitting here where you're listening to 4 very different concepts. And what do you do? What does your company do? And why is it unique? So this was great, just to be able to listen to 4 very different businesses and what your concepts are, what you do that's innovative. But I also want to wrap with this. Everyone is going through one challenge or another. It's not an easy journey. And as impressive and amazing, all of your achievements have been up to date. I do want to leave our audience with some words of encouragement. So take us back to one major challenge that you faced in your journey somewhere along the line. If you could just give us a short couple sentences on, tell us about the major challenge, and then tell us ultimately what was the thing that helped you get on the other side of that challenge. So let's see if we can, to what you said, Leslie, let's see if we can meet the audience where they're at. Who would like to go first?
I'll happily go first. I mean, for me, it's expect the unexpected, our biggest challenge was pre-COVID, our business model was jumping on an airplane and going to Bangkok for 90 minutes. We had the best ever sales line that we could imagine when COVID hit. And within 2 weeks, I had no sales and a business to run. And you sit there and think, oh, right, well, everybody else has just gone home. But you then think, well, hang on, there has to be something that we can do to help all our customers and clients cope with whatever's happening. And for me, that was the biggest challenge, which was, right, we can't jump on an airplane now, oh dear, right? Our clients are still having meetings and still need to talk to people. Like, okay, well, they're probably going to have to do something. Well, I was on Zoom at Christmas with my granny, and we did a quiz. Maybe there's something in this Zoom thing that'll take off. And you just sit for a week and think, well, a meeting's a meeting. It's content, it's outcomes, it's delivery. You just have to think more creatively about how to deliver it. So completely unexpected, we completely repositioned and retooled what we did within about a month of COVID hitting.
Wow.
And our team went from 4 people at the time to over 20 within about 3 months. Because
so the pandemic helped you scale.
It did. But now we've got the post-pandemic, what on earth is the new normal in terms of working from home and people's attitude to online. And so we're retooling again. So you just continue.
So Leslie, when the bottom fell out during the pandemic and you were blindsided, but as a lot of other businesses were also blindsided, did you just sit there and brainstorm by yourself? Did you brainstorm with other people? Like, where did this pivot idea come from?
Well, all of a sudden I had a lot of time to walk along the canal with the baby I had at the time. And you just think, somebody must be doing something to help the world. Who knows how long this will last? And it really was all in my head, which is I've got to pay the salaries of other people. And the pressure's on because I've only got so much money to last. And I don't want people to suffer because I haven't got time to think it through. So you just sit and think, you have to do something. Needs must. It's the human instinct, got to survive. Don't know what's happening. Nobody knows what's happening. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. That was the approach.
Well, I love that you didn't overthink it. You didn't spend 4 months writing a new business plan, that you just pivoted in 30 minutes, or not 30 minutes, in 30 days. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else want to share a major challenge you went through in your past and what you did to overcome it?
Well, again, for me, it was realizing that disruptive technology takes time, and that we had to look at changing. Initially, it was a clinical value proposition. Obviously, as a clinician, that's how I started. I started with the clinical value proposition, but that was great for the early adopters who it was like they wanted to try new stuff. They recognized the challenges clinically. But then as we moved through to larger institutions, for profits and things like that, the bottom line really matters a lot. And you have to be able to come up with, you have to meet your client where they are, and you have to be able to show them the value proposition, the problem that they had. So that took changing a team. Our initial sales team was really not up to the task of being able to go in and be consultative. And so we needed to bring on a consultative team. And once we did that, they were able to understand where the problems were with the clients and be able to speak to the device as a way to answer their needs.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to share as we wrap up today's conversation, a major challenge that you had in your entrepreneurial career?
Sure. I think I want to point, when we started our company, I think we still have challenges, but we started really thinking a very broad aspect of what we wanted to do, especially in the pharmacovigilance and drug safety. But then we realized that's not realistic. At the same time, we were not served ourselves as well as the customers. So we had to focus on a particular area of data processing rather than whole. So I want to say, I think sometimes we may have to scale down the vision to achieve what we need to get. So that's the challenge we had. And we are still in early phase, so we continue to have those challenges, but we'll overcome if we work hard.
Yeah, I think that's a common challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, right? We just have we want to think big, and then maybe we have to hit that goal in 5 or 10 years and scale that down. So thank you for sharing that. Dr. Backer, did you have any challenge ever in your past life as an entrepreneur?
So many. I think that the only thing I've done that's been harder than growing a company from scratch is raising 3 teenagers.
Oh, yes.
But I think that the biggest challenge has always been people-related challenges, and the best solution for those is just associating with the right people. So screen, test run, and and make changes when you need to. There is no substitute for good people.
Amen to that. And so I this is so helpful for our audience members to be able to hear not only the highs from everybody's bios, but also the lows on, what were some hits that you took. And as an example, Leslie, I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing. That was a major hit that you took, and it was recent during the pandemic. So I definitely appreciate that. And just in sharing a quick illustration on my part too, as I had started 3 other businesses, and my second business, a big hit that I had taken at that time was I never had anybody like an employee. I was in a lawsuit for pregnancy discrimination of all things. So I was blindsided by that, and it happened. I thought I was great at managing people, but I had this mentality of, oh, I want everybody to feel like they're in a family business. So I want them to feel like family. So that was a difficult season, and it was expensive. I had to, pay the lawyers and pay out things I didn't even realize I could be accused of, that me being a mother of 3 children myself. Anyway, just sharing these different specific scenarios of, challenges. We all go through them. We all have situations that have been difficult personally, professionally. And so if that encourages other entrepreneurs to know that, hey, for the rest of the people out there who are hitting awards and being nominated for all sorts of accolades, that it really wasn't an easy path, a smooth sailing experience for everybody, although it might seem it, for reading people's backgrounds. So I hope that encourages our listeners. And just as we say goodbye, if you could share how people could get in touch with you and reach out to you.
I can be reached at Alex, ALEX, at Drizit, DRISIT, as in visit with Drizit.com.
I just type my email, sriram.penna@vericuity.com.
Yes, so you can reach out to Dr. Penna at Veracuity, VERACUITY, and I'll drop the links below too. Brad, how can they reach out to you?
So my email is brad.macy@hospicorp.com. You can also look up and find out more and reach out through macycatheter.com, which is our website.
All right, excellent.
And then for me, I've got my name all over everything. So openaudience.com or find me in LinkedIn, Leslie Robertson at openaudience.com. And it's leslie.robertson@openaudience.com.
Wonderful. Well, this has been an exciting conversation. It's been really helpful to our audience. And I just really appreciate everybody taking the time to participate in this roundtable discussion.